Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Traceability Primer with JIRA and Confluence. We'll be recording this session and we'll submit a link to the recording over the next couple of days. Just a quick note, our next webinar, Traceability, Linking JIRA to Your Source Code, is scheduled for May 7th at 11 a.m. Central. As you have questions, please be sure to provide them in the questions utility in the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll queue them up and answer them towards the end of the session. On the phone today from Precipio Consulting, we have Charles Wells. Charles is a solutions architect and he heads up training at Precipio Consulting. He'll be responsible for leading us through this webinar. And I'm Shayla Sander. I engage a number of business development activities for Precipio Consulting and will be moderating this webinar. We've been Atlassian experts for over 5 years now and are one of 4 platinum enterprise experts in the country. We've been working with the Atlassian products since 2004, and over 98% of our projects are Atlassian related. We have over 100 clients across the US, ranging in size from small 20-person companies to Fortune 20 enterprises spanning across many different industries. We help our clients with process-centric technology solutions that facilitate traditional business process management, IT service management based on ITIL, and software development life cycles. We support our clients in all facets of the Atlassian product suite and build methodologies and solutions across the entire product suite. We help our clients across a range of services, including solutions architecting and implementations, licensing, installs, upgrades, and maintenance, hosting and managed services, and training. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Charles to take us through the webinar.
Thanks, Shayla. Business and delivery teams rely on traceability for several reasons, most likely reliability and interaction, as well as collaboration. So traceability has become a vital aspect of any software development process. Today we'll be discussing the relevance, beneficiaries, and some of the ways in which we can start to capture traceability. And because it's such a large topic and can certainly be broken down into more manageable chunks, that's one of the reasons we're calling this a primer. We will be covering some of the key integrations that make traceability manageable and seamless from the start, primarily leveraging JIRA and Confluence. And we'll address other traceability interactions in later sessions. And so this is also a primer in the sense of sequence, that traceability obtained through these applications serves as an initial effort and foundation for additional future work. Let me take a second and give you just a little background on myself. For most of the last 8 years, I was in IT production operations support. The last 4 years of that, I was managing an ITIL-based service desk for a software service provider. My JIRA experience primarily ranges around facilitating ITIL-based processes for incidents, problems, and change management. So with an idea there of working toward resolution and measured against metrics. We did go through 3 major upgrades during my time, so I've been through some of the system admin portions as well. And then as a little bit as relates to today, I oversaw the migration from a MediaWiki system to Confluence as our knowledge base. So we began coordinating procedure transfer from other departments. That gave us a lot of experience in documenting things for how-to, troubleshooting, known errors, and policies. Traceability at the time was, I would say, more in the beginning stages. And definitely something we'll see today kind of from the software development focus. So after joining Precipio Consulting and seeing how our clients are leveraging our solutions to tie together their knowledge and reference with their actual development, I've become a lot more aware of how traceability can be facilitated with these applications. So it's exciting for me, and I hope it's exciting for you guys. That's enough about me. Let's look quickly at our topics for today. So here's kind of the sections, the breakdown we'll be covering. We'll discuss the options for relevance. We'll look at who the beneficiaries are for traceability. I've got a little percentage up there for Atlassian, 35%, and we'll come back to that, but I wanted to go ahead and put that in your brain. And then we'll look at some of the ways we can begin capturing things using JIRA and Confluence. And you may have noticed I've said we quite a bit. And the reason for that is I plan to solicit your input throughout the session. I hope this will make it interactive for both of us, myself and you all as the audience, but also help give us some kind of picture based on our attendees today. So with that in mind, let's cue up our first poll. Which analogy best describes traceability? And I believe Shayla's going to help me out with this. She'll cue that up. and we'll give you guys some time to respond.
All right, so we got a few more coming in. Looks like we have 6% at narrative or story, 31% at roadmap, and 63% at signposts or markers.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shayla. Awesome. So, well, there's probably some validity for any of these options. I do think the first two present a narrower perspective and serve a more distinct purpose. So definitely let's look into these. A narrative is best suited for describing what we're trying to accomplish in the short term. It helps us break up the demands and requirements into pieces so that we can better manage them and they can be dealt with more in a compartmentalized fashion. So this is obviously true as we speak of software development in the Agile world, where we're purposefully tackling a chunk of work at a time with an intentionally small time frame. The roadmap, by contrast, offers the best view of where we're going. It really presents a bigger picture of the destination that our proposed iterations should lead us to. And such iterations are composed of our releases, which ideally contribute to our capability maturity. So I would agree with the majority of everybody here that signposts or markers is probably the best analogy, so let's look into that one. Signposts help connect the dots and provide both functions of historical examination, so we can track backwards, as well as anticipating progress, so looking forward, without regard to a specific direction or focus. And because of this, we desire flexibility and multi-use out of traceability. And so that's what we get. Traceability lends assistance with these activities in constructing a narrative and determining a roadmap. So the ability here really is to connect our story to the journey at large. And so I always like to start off, I had a real good mentor who helped me realize that it's good to get everybody on the same page. So just to use a similar definition here, this is how we'll be presenting traceability for our session. Again, kind of right now with that focus on development activities for software or services. So traceability is the linking of product requirements, both from a stakeholder's justification to appropriate design, code, and tests. So why is traceability relevant? Well, I've got three options here. Let's look at accountability. Leaders and companies in more and more industries are tasked with complying with external auditing requirements to enforce accountability. Staying ahead of such factors requires forethought, and this takes skill, right, in devising the most efficient means to capture the necessary information with the minimum investment and overhead. So there's a focus that needs to be drawn on scalable technology, investments, and solutions so that traceability can occur seamlessly while providing additional functionality to our company resources. There's also empowerment. Empowering employees is imperative to allowing decisions at the point of impact. We really want to get decision-making at the front lines with the boots on the ground. So no matter how we define empowerment, the fact remains that it's directly related to confidence. Confidence to get the job done right the first time. And this is achieved through successful repetition and execution of relevant processes and procedures, ideally to the point where our teams have this as habit. And thirdly, but not lastly, there's growth. Growth develops over time and requires experience. So leaders expect organizational maturity to accompany growth, but that requires capabilities to critically analyze and evaluate and discern trends and make decisions accordingly. Many companies today seem to view growth and maturity as a narrative being shaped and developed by their employees and their actions. And part of that growth process requires reflection, because telling a story requires looking back. This is why we have history, as well as forward to the future, to where we want to be. So in the journey, we have both facets, the past and the future. Time is at a premium for all of us, and only so much can be done and spent on retrospectives, evaluating our lessons learned, and the outcomes, delivering epics. So due to the premium on time, collaboration and accuracy are critical success factors in these discussions. So the ability to capture, retain, and identify insight from multiple sources is integral to an environment conducive for growth. Here's a visual showing us the relationships from concept through the requirements to issues and finally delivery. Product requirements are really the glue between the two sides. And since they'll change often, having quick access and awareness of updates is critical to staying current and staying on task. So I really think the product requirements provide the translation necessary from concept and need to the developmental tasks to the release. So we've got a second poll here. As we speak of relevance, let's get an idea of current usage. So Shayla, if you would queue up this poll for us on what's the current use for traceability in your company. And I only had the space for 5 options. I couldn't select all of the above or a combination, so just do your best there.
So it looks like we have most of our votes in, a few more people voting. So let's see, 44% for audits, controls, and compliance. And then it's a 17% tie for reflection evaluation, reporting accuracy, and forward momentum. And then 6% at historical perspective.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shayla.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not surprised by that. While there's definitely no right or wrong answer here, we've got a nice baseline. And we see that the majority of people are still looking at this from the compliance aspect. So we can see how important that is to the company as a whole. I think as we can better use our tools, we'll see that we can continue to ramp up usage for reflection and forward momentum as well. Because definitely there's traceability in all of these options. So we've looked at relevance. Let's talk a little bit about who benefits from traceability. And I've got 3 broad groups here, but let's break them down. We've got customers, first of all. Well-practiced and maintained traceability provides cohesion and predictability with regard to product quality and service delivery. And trust stems from a degree of predictability. We want to understand how individuals will react when presented with various problems. Employees also benefit because proper traceability enhances daily activities and seeks to reduce or eliminate redundancy and wasted effort. Traceability isn't only important to developers or people on the software side of the house. We've got the business side as well, and those users in the weeds every day supporting the product. So let's take Atlassian for an example here, the 35% I threw out earlier. It surprised me to know that 35% of Atlassian's roughly 800 to 850 employees, only 35% are engaged in development. The remainder is involved in support, marketing, pre-sales, finance, admin, HR, legal, and other typical departments in a mid-sized company. I really expected the percentage to be higher, so in my mind, most of the company is going to live in JIRA every day. With only 35% of the people engaged in development, that tells me there's a huge need and a huge base of users who are going to require visibility somewhere else. And we'll see how they probably get that and how we expect they get it via Confluence. And finally, we've got management. Traceability seeks to remove doubt and skepticism, providing transparency to process execution and results. Ideally, then, this creates an environment to alleviate extra vigilance tasks, which leaves management more time for decision-making as opposed to checking up kind of activities. The better able we are to evaluate and analyze trends, the better we can prepare for the future. And ideally, that's what we want our managers doing. So I've got another poll here, and this is kind of a combination rather than ask you 3 questions. But here's another chance for input regarding our stakeholder priorities. I'm curious what you guys think is more important to customers, employees, and management.
Okay,
Shayla, how are those coming in?
we're at 58% voted. But right now we've got 44%. Oh, just changed. 50% for security, execution, and confidence. 30% for confidence, security, and execution, and then 24% for execution, confidence, security.
Okay. So thanks. I definitely appreciate y'all's interaction here. I possibly should have presented this before going through kind of my case scenarios, but it's kind of at the midway point. So I'll give you my take. I chose A, security, execution, and confidence. So to me, security is really important to customers. Again, they need that confidence or the security that comes from trust. And from trust, or trust stems from the predictability. They want to know each day that the product they have will work as designed, and they really don't care what it takes to achieve that end. So they rely on software and services, and having the security that their investment will deliver on their end helps create the more predictable environment for our customers. So security is what they want to get out of the cost they pay us. Employees, on the other hand, are definitely focused on specific tasks, which are broken down as part of larger goals. So our employees are driven by the ability to deliver and execute. And this is a tactical focus, which is definitely appropriate for tactical work. Our managers then depend upon many employees and tools. So confidence in the resources and systems under their charge allows them, again, to stay informed and continue thinking forward strategically. So we've talked about some relevance, we've talked about who benefits. Let's talk about how we can achieve traceability. So regardless of methodologies or strategies, the basic building blocks of successful IT organizations remain people, process, and technology. Placing employees with the appropriate skills in the correct roles, enacting processes that facilitate compliance without bureaucracy, and selecting tools that provide intelligent functionality are all key factors in aligning meaningful traceability. For the purposes of our discussion, we'll be looking at the technology component, I suppose, more often, or as a focus here, and explore how integrations of specific Atlassian products assist in creating the traceability. So here's kind of a higher view here, another quick overview. We've got specific activities and then the correlated Atlassian applications designed to address those needs. So first off, we've got ideas and collaboration, leading to execution, to code review, to our commits and source code management. So the applications in process here would be Confluence, JIRA, Fisheye and Crucible, and then Git, SVN, etc. for source code management on that side. That kind of those deal a little bit, and I say on the source code side, that deals with a little bit of the hosted. Git is the hosted solution. We could also do Stash. So we can look at the next line there. We've got ideas and collaboration, leading to execution, generating our bills now for releases, and again committing source code. So now we were interacting with Confluence, JIRA, Bamboo for our continuous integration, and then Stash for the source code management. So we've got a clear picture of how we can maintain traceability through the lifecycle using the Atlassian stack of products. Everything starts from ideas or needs. We document those, and that's where Confluence helps us. We can aggregate that data, we can comment on it collaboratively and develop it socially. We can retain it and make sure it's version controlled as well. And then we can break down those needs into constituent parts and tasks and track the progress there. And that's where JIRA comes into play. So how can we use JIRA and Confluence specifically? So the components, if you will, are the options I'm going to look at today. We'll see how we can use blueprints and indexes, document to issue linking, JIRA reporting in Confluence, and then take advantage of some Agile retrospectives. So Confluence contains blueprints, which are really templates with providing extended functionality. In this case, the blueprint page essentially creates a traceability matrix on the fly, and we'll see that as we look at a couple different blueprints. This provides both convenience and a high-level awareness for project managers, product owners, and business analysts. The document to issue linking ensures that references, specs, and other relevant information are readily accessible on the JIRA issue itself. So our users no longer have to spend time digging around for documentation or locating the most recent version. This keeps our developers focused on code rather than hunting down those latest copies. JIRA reporting within Confluence, again, 35% of Atlassian is developing code. The other 65% are not. So reporting within Confluence is huge. This will ensure that our managers and decision makers have visibility and awareness into the issues relating to their requirements and business cases. Not everybody deals with those daily weeds issue side of things, and they don't have to view JIRA dashboard to gain the overall understanding of the current status. Retrospectives, we've talked a lot about how reflection is necessary, not only in Agile methodologies, but as a key component of traceability itself to complete the journey. So retrospectives via blueprints offer the ability for development teams to immediately capture outcome analysis when completing sprints and assemble a matrix as well to see those at a high level. So with that said, let me jump over to our demo instance. Bear with me as I transition out of Keynote.
So we've discussed traceability conceptually, as well as why it's important and who benefits. So let's look a little bit about how we can help create traceability by using JIRA and Confluence. We'll first look at the product requirement blueprint and the things we can do there from Confluence to JIRA. So here I've gone ahead to save a little time, created a page off of our blueprint, defined some of the parameters, but you may notice I'm still missing an epic and actual issues for my user stories. From within Confluence, I can use the JIRA macro to create my new epic. So now I have an epic issue number. I can save my page and go ahead and define my user stories. You'll notice I'm presented the option to create issues in JIRA, again from Confluence. I can create single issues, but when you're using a table, Confluence realizes you may want to make more issues, and I can do that as well. So now I can create all 4 at once, link them to my epic. Not only am I creating traceability from my product requirements within Confluence over to actual JIRA issues, but I'm also generating the work that those folks on the other side of the house, the delivery side, need to work on. Now we find our epic as well as our user stories. And you'll note when I go to the product requirements index page, which again is generated by using the blueprints, now my epic value populates. I can quickly reference that ticket and then see those user stories that roll up underneath. So again, this gets us instant traceability. We didn't have to manage a spreadsheet or other information to capture important points regarding all of our product requirements. So we can leverage those at later times as well as reference. This gives us the persistence and the ability to collaboratively update our documentation. And this really benefits the whole team. Next, we'll look at document linking to Confluence. So here's another issue. We've got a bug here, again dealing with our tungsten development. I would like to make sure that our users have as much information as they need. We can also link information then from our Confluence site to our specific issue. Now we have our product requirements, more information about tungsten as pertains to the Spacely Sprockets company. And we may want to go ahead and even further provide information from an external source. And we can do that as well. So now as we transition this issue and assign it out, we can be sure that our users have all the information they need. Again, it provides instant reference. We help limit the time the users have to track down information, so we can provide that upfront. This really benefits the people on the ground, the boots on the ground, working through the issues, so they don't have to waste their time tracking down additional reference. Now we can look at some reporting that we can leverage. within both JIRA and Confluence. So here's our Spacely Sprockets homepage. What we may want to do now is get some more visibility on those issues that we're dealing with. Again, referencing blueprints, we can select a JIRA report. We've got a couple options here. We can either do a change log, which would give us a running issue list, or we can look at status reports to get some visual reference. And this is important. Again, remember, maybe 65% of Atlassian is not engaged in software development. So how do we make sure that those other folks can get the awareness they need? Well, we could create a dashboard type page in Confluence to present them some of that high level information. Again, we've got a macro that will leverage in the index page. And when I hit create or save, we'll actually see the graphs that populate. So now what we're looking at in our Spacely Expensive Alloys project, we've got 25 issues. And we can break those down by status, priority, issue type, and component. So again, this helps give our colleagues in the Confluence side of the house high level visibility regarding the actual issues we're working on. And finally, we look at some linking relating to JIRA Agile and the retrospectives. So while I'm not going to get into specifics of using JIRA Agile, what we will do is create a small sprint here based on some of our tickets. Let me actually go ahead and put some in that are not complete. Similar to how we could present information from JIRA to Confluence, we could do the same on the other side of the house as well. So if we wanted to create a very high-level dashboard, in this case, showcasing our product requirements, we can add some gadgets from Confluence to JIRA. We can add quick navigation so we can actually search for and find documentation, as well as a page gadget to render an actual Confluence page within JIRA. Here's our search nav down here. For this one, we can go ahead and define the space we want to pull from, the specific page, and decide if we want it to refresh. And again, here we're rendering our information from Confluence. We've got our tungsten sprocket product development product requirement page that we created. We can see the epic that it's linked to. Again, all the information we saw in our product requirements. So similarly, we can keep those folks in JIRA appraised of all the information that may be changing in Confluence. So now let's look at some additional linking between JIRA and Confluence as it pertains to Agile. So here we're in our expensive alloy scrum board. We're going to create a short sprint here regarding some of our tungsten development. What we're really focused on here is the resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and move a few issues to closed. And when I complete my sprint, JIRA is going to actually prompt me if I want to go ahead and enter my retrospective now. And this is really important because we realize that reflection and understanding what happened well and as well as in addition to areas of improvement is important to actually wrapping up the sprint. So from JIRA, we can go ahead and link to Confluence and create a retrospective using a blueprint. Again, we could define additional participants to rope in our collaborators and help us generate this content. Again, the nice thing about using a blueprint is we have our index page that again shows us all of our retrospectives. And again, using those macros at the top, we can add additional information to capture in our tables. So again, we realize that reflection is important to overall growth and maturity.
So while we went through the demo, I tried to illustrate the why, the what, and the who for several means of interaction here, primarily geared for software development or service development, tying in our product requirements through to the various activities that are related. So let's revisit our visual, traceability, where those product requirements often are the first documented instance of the business needs. So capturing them and linking them to the overall understanding is critical to making sure we capture our risks, our assumptions, and our questions. This helps us maintain not only a consistent picture, but ensure that information is available as we develop our epics and user stories. Remember, time is at a premium, so we can't spend a lot of time rehashing and going back as things change. We need to just be aware of that, and we can capture that information as well through activity streams. Again, those product requirements provide the translation necessary from concept and need to the development tasks through the release. And so here I've kind of broken it down again or added some additional notes, but we see that on the left, we have the items and activities from the business. The middle is really the core of our traceability and what we've got to have to link the two sides. And then on the right, we've got our development and delivery tasks. So traceability creates an environment ensuring the value demanded of the business is actualized in the delivery activities. So reviewing the feature benefits. So on the left, we've got the four aspects we looked at. The blueprints and their indexes provide high-level traceability from the requirements to the individual issues. The document linking gives us a tactical focus and provides efficiency for those assignees. JIRA reporting certainly provides visibility to our Confluence users so they have the awareness without having to transition into JIRA. And then the JIRA Agile retrospectives. We've got instant collaboration for reflection and continuous improvement. And by linking the applications JIRA and Confluence, companies can really leverage the full interactive benefits of these products. Application integrations provide a robust, scalable solution valuable to any size company, but especially those looking to grow to the enterprise environments. So with that, before we have questions, I actually wanted Shayla to queue up one more poll. I'm curious to know if we've got people using JIRA and Confluence out there. So Shayla, could you queue up our fourth poll?
All right. So yeah, 100% both.
Okay, great. So with that, Shayla, do we have any questions?
Sure, yeah. So the first one's from Kelly. It says, traceability systems are best defined and implemented proactively, in contrast to reaction to external requirements. Reactive integration of traceability is resource consumptive, right?
I would agree with that. You're exactly right. If you can get on the forefront of traceability and get some things lined up ahead of time and proactively, you're focusing on those conformance costs. So you're not contributing or you're not detracting from your bottom line. The little you spend up front is going to be much more palatable than what you would spend on the backside if you were doing this after the fact. You're exactly right.
All right, that was from Kelly, and he has one more question. It says, traceability implies collaboration as a viral component. Agreed?
Yes, definitely. And Atlassian makes really no bones about it. They understand that any kind of development now, especially software, but in my mind, services as well, nothing happens in silos. Nothing is individuals out there. We've got teams, often shifting teams and changing teams. So the collaboration and the ability to do that effectively across various offices, geographic locations, cultures is integral. So setting up a system and a process to do that really gives you full traceability from the get-go. Now, most of us probably are never in an environment where we can get this done perfectly before we start having customers. But again, to your proactive point, right? Understanding the needs, defining them and jumping on them rather than letting a problem grow bigger is definitely to an advantage.
Okay, great. So next one's from Roger. It says, is it possible to link burn downs from JIRA Agile to Confluence? And if so, could you show an example?
I haven't seen the burn downs yet, Roger. That's a good question. And so to focus on, let me bounce out of here. Again, I'll show you the JIRA report page right now. Has a couple options. And again, this is a blueprint. This is something Atlassian is going to continue to build out. We've got that change log and the status report. The change log activities are probably, well, the project report in JIRA is driven off of versions. The change log here is really showing us a listing of our issues by issue type, and we can specify specific versions if we wanted to. Our status report kind of breaks down 4 high-level points into statuses. So this report blueprint will definitely expand over time. There's also, and let me get to kind of a good place for it now. The retrospective is fine. Let me click on one of these. There's another macro Atlassian has as well, and this is where you can provide some feedback specifically for what you're looking for. If we go down here, we go to insert the JIRA chart macro. So currently there's not a whole lot. There's a pie chart that we can insert based on some JQL. So it's not specifically that burn down. But what you can do is go to this insert JIRA chart and hit more to come. It's going to link you into an Atlassian survey where they're asking you for what you want. And based on input, they'll actually start developing it. They actually crowdsource all their development. So social goals, voting, and watching, those are the kind of issues that get traction. So if you don't see anything in the current list, or most likely you will, definitely go vote for it, and you can use this survey as well to report some of the functionality you'd like to see. So I know that may not be exactly what you're looking for. It could be possible as well to get some of the reporting you want via marketplace add-ons. I know the basic out of the stock or out of the box right now reports, this is kind of what we have. You may find something to tie in additional Agile reports via the marketplace.
All right, great. So I have one from Michael, and it says, what's a good practice to link JIRA to the source code? That is the topic of our next webinar. Charles, did you have anything to touch on that, or do you think we should just leave that for next time?
No, I would save that one, because yeah, that's definitely in scope for the next webinar.
Okay. So
but there will be best practices, and I'm sure we'll be covering that, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like that is all of our questions for today. I want to thank everybody for their time and for joining us for this webinar. And to remind you, our next webinar, Traceability JIRA to Source Code, it's going to be May 7th at the same time, 11 a.m. Central. Thanks a lot. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, y'all.